The neon orange notice taped to my front door hit like a slap in the face. It wasn't one of those polite yellow stickers about a missed package or upcoming street sweeping. This was the kind of paper that looked like it had been printed in a fit of rage, bold, all-caps letters bleeding from a toner-starved cartridge, screaming, "You are now officially a problem." I stood on the porch of my modest ranch-style house in Maple Grove Estates, keys still dangling from my fingers, and read it twice just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Notice of violation, Class B. Offense, unauthorized window treatment color. Fine, $150 per day until remedied. Compliance required within 48 hours. I looked left at the living room window. White curtains. Not cream, not ivory, not eggshell, plain department store, no imagination white. The kind you hang when you just want to block the afternoon sun so the TV doesn't glare during football season. I ripped the paper off, taking a small flake of door paint with it, another future violation, no doubt, and marched down the driveway. I didn't have to search far. Susan Whitaker, president of the Maple Grove Homeowners Association for the last 9 years, was already 3 houses down, crouched beside the Thompsons' mailbox with a metal ruler pressed against their freshly mowed lawn, like she was measuring for brain surgery. She wore her usual uniform, floral capris, white tennis shoes, oversized tortoiseshell sunglasses, and a clipboard that might as well have been Excalibur. "Susan," I called. She didn't flinch. She rotated slowly, the way a battleship turret acquires a target, then offered the tight, practiced smile that never reached her eyes. "Good afternoon, John," she said, voice coated in artificial sweetener. "I trust you received our correspondence." I waved the orange sheet. "Correspondence? This is a ransom note. My curtains are white, Susan. Target. Package says white. Not off-white. Not pearl. White." She sighed as though my ignorance physically pained her. She tucked the ruler into her enormous tote bag. The same bag I was convinced contained the crushed dreams of at least a dozen neighbors, and began the slow, deliberate walk toward me. Her sandals made a rhythmic thwack, thwack, thwack on the asphalt, each step a countdown. "John," she tooted when she reached the edge of my property line. She never stepped on the grass. Bylaw 8.4, unnecessary foot traffic on sod. Don't be difficult. Look at the window. I pointed. "Tell me what color that is." She lowered her sunglasses just enough to peer over the rims, like a disappointed school principal. "It's clearly ivory. It has a noticeable yellow undertone. The covenants, conditions, and restrictions, Section 4, Paragraph 2, Subsection C, are explicit. All visible window coverings must be pure white or bright white to maintain a uniform, clean aesthetic. Ivory, cream, eggshell, beige, alabaster, prohibited. They suggest neglect. Your curtains are creating a dingy appearance that affects the entire block. I don't smoke inside. Nobody thinks they're dingy except you." "Then you paid good money to violate the rules," she replied calmly. She tapped the orange paper in my hand. 48 hours. After that, the fine doubles to $300 per day for willful noncompliance. "Have a blessed day, John." "Twek, twek, twek." She walked away. I stood there vibrating. I went inside, slammed the door, quietly, noise ordinance after 8 p.m., cracked a beer, and stared at the curtains. They were nice. Heavy, thermal-lined, good at keeping the Texas heat out. I held the hem up to the stark, white window trim. Okay, technically, there was a subtle difference. A difference only someone with a spectral analyzer and too much free time could detect. But a difference. 2 choices. Fight at the monthly meeting where Susan, Patricia, and dozing Robert held all the cards, or comply. I chose compliance. The adult thing. The path of least resistance. Next morning, I called in a mental health day and drove to the big box home store. I stood in the curtain aisle holding 2 packages, Snow and Arctic. A teenage stock boy wandered over. "Which one's whiter?" I asked. He blinked. "They look the same to me, man." "They can't be the same. One's Snow. One's Arctic. Susan will know." He backed up a step. "The Arctic looks brighter, I guess." 6 panels. Arctic. They were hideous. Thin polyester that practically glowed under store lights. Perfect. I hung them that afternoon. The living room looked like a dentist's office. Sterile, cold, but white. I went outside, took a photo from the street, texted the HOA emergency line, which routed straight to Susan's iPad, remedied. Pure white. Please confirm. 10 minutes. 20. Buzz. Better. But please ensure pleats are uniform. Far left panel is bunched. We want a tailored appearance. I laughed, a short, dry, bitter sound, and went back inside to fix the pleats. 2 days later, another neon orange notice appeared. Notice of violation, Class B. Offense, non-compliant texture and transparency. Fine, $300. Repeat offender surcharge. I didn't go looking for her. I dragged a lawn chair into the driveway, cracked another beer, and waited like a sentry. At 5:17 p.m., she rounded the corner. Problem, John? She asked sweetly. You tell me. I bought Arctic white. Whiter than your teeth. What now? She clutched her clipboard like a shield. While the color is technically compliant, the material fails at night. With interior lights on, the transparency creates silhouettes of furniture. Cluttered appearance. Furthermore, the waffle weave catches streetlight and throws shadows. Bylaw 4.2c requires smooth satin or tight weave finish. I stood slowly. You're fining me for shadows. Failure to maintain standard, she corrected. You have 24 hours. Dweck, dweck, dweck. I closed the door very gently that time. Then I made coffee. Strong. I cleared the dining table, dragged out the thick binder of covenants they'd given me at closing 5 years earlier, and began to read. Really read. Highlighted. Sticky noted. Cross-referenced online. The document was a masterpiece of petty restriction. No pink flamingos, no above-ground pools, no visible car repair in driveways, no window coverings except pure white. But the language was precise. It said window coverings, curtains, blinds, shutters, drapes. Nothing about the glass itself. Section 8.5 allowed lead light or stained glass accents in entry doors, if tasteful and abstract, no religious symbols. Entry doors, not picture windows. No mention of living room facades or street-facing elevations requiring clear glass. I leaned back as dawn broke, exhausted, caffeinated, and smiling like a lunatic. The rules assumed windows were clear. They assumed privacy came from what hung behind glass. What if the glass was the privacy? I searched custom architectural stained glass near me and landed on Tony Vitale's website. Black background, red text, last updated circa 2004. Photos of church windows, bar restorations, even a bulldog in a tuxedo. I called. Tony's Glass. Tony, John Reynolds. I need a rush job. Big residential picture window. Spite project against an HOA. Long pause. Cigarette lighter flicked. Deep inhale. I hate HOAs. They find my birdhouse for being too rustic. What scene? Dante's Inferno. Eighth circle. Fraud. Specific faces. I have reference photos. Tony laughed, a wet, rattling sound. I did Purgatorio for a biker club in Jersey. I can be there in an hour. He arrived in a rusted Econoline van that looked like it had seen combat. Big guy, gray ponytail, prison kitchen tattoos, stained tank top. He tapped my builder-grade window. Trash. Blown seal anyway. You're doing yourself a favor. He measured. Sketched. I showed him the PowerPoint of faces. Susan scowling at a pothole. Robert asleep at a meeting. Patricia with binoculars spying on trash cans. Susan in boiling pitch. Burning clipboard, Tony decided. Robert in sloth mud, blues and greens. Patricia frozen in ice, judgmental glare, leaf blower demons. Cathedral glass, opaque but glows. Daytime privacy, nighttime weapon. Price, 10 grand normally. For this, 7. Half up front. I wrote the check. 3 weeks. I paid the daily fines with smiley faces on the memo line. Susan stopped visiting. She thought she'd won. When Tony called, panel's ready. Install tomorrow. It's going to be loud. I felt adrenaline like I hadn't since my army days. 8 a.m. Sawzall screamed. Frame ripped out. Susan flew out in rollers and silk robe. Construction before 9 o'clock prohibited. Hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays, I shouted back. I waited till 8 to be polite. No architectural approval. Emergency repair. Bylaw 8.1. Compromised structural integrity. She called police. Officer Davis arrived, looked at my city permit, sighed. Civil matter, ma'am. He's got paperwork. All day, they hoisted panels. Canvas stayed up. Tony, don't uncover till dark. Full effect. 8:30 p.m., Susan on patrol, reflective vest, flashlights sweeping for gnomes. She stopped in front of my house, staring at the glowing tarp. I flipped the breaker. Industrial thunk. Then light. Violent, saturated, biblical. Reds, oranges, yellows. 50,000 lumens blasted through opal glass. I yanked the quick-release rope. Canvas fell. Silence. Crickets quit. Wind held its breath. 8 feet tall, 6 wide. Swirling lava background. Susan waist-deep in pitch, screaming, flaming clipboard raised. Robert blue and asleep in mud. Patricia in ice, leaf blower demon poking her. Violation notices turning into bats. Susan's hands flew to her face. Is that me? Interpretive art, I call from a porch. Classical. Dante. High culture. You can't find high culture. Doors opened up and down the street. Neighbors in pajamas squinted. Mr. Thompson crossed over with his dog. I announced like a tour guide. Sloth circle. And Patricia with the malicious compliance demons. Susan shrieked. Hate speech. Harassment. Officer Davis returned, stared long, chuckled. Quality work. Let it glass. Then to Susan. No nudity. No obscenity. Freedom of expression. Dim after 10 for the airport pilots. She dialed 911 again. He's put up a mural of death. Davis, ma'am, it's a window. The board convened on my lawn at 8 a.m. next day. My college roommate, Michael, real estate attorney who loathed HOAs, drove 3 hours just for the show. Susan, violation of multiple sections. Retroactive $5,000 fine. Mandatory removal. Contractor arrives at noon to smash it. Michael opened his briefcase. This is a registered copyright, Suburban Inferno by Anthony Vitale. This is a summary of the Visual Artists' Rights Act of 1990. Permanent architectural integration. Destruction constitutes federal violation of moral rights. Tony's eager to sue you personally, Susan, not the association. You. Susan blanched. Michael continued. Targeted enforcement. Selective harassment. Hostile living environment. Emotional distress. If you touch that window, we file for breach of fiduciary duty. We bankrupt the reserves. Pool gone. Landscaping gone. My billable hours are very expensive. Robert woke up. I don't want to be sued. I just want to sleep. Patricia. The leaf blower demon is sort of cute. Susan threw her clipboard. It bounced harmlessly on the grass. Keep your ugly window. Keep your hell house. But don't expect an invite to the block party. I'm Jewish, Susan. Never went anyway. She stomped home. 2 months later, Susan resigned for health reasons. Robert took over but called no meetings. Grass in common areas grew long. Nobody cared. My window became a landmark. Teenagers called it the Cathedral of Doom. People slowed to photograph it. But peace is temporary in Maple Grove. New rule. No lawn statuary over 24 inches. Blank canvas. I called Tony. Snake. 60 feet long. 23.5 inches high max. He arrived with a sketch. Leviathan of scrap. Saw blade scales. Spark plug teeth. Bicycle reflector eyes. We dug a trench around the flower beds. Welded rebar. Poured concrete base. For days of grinders and arc welders. Robert measured. 23 inches. Compliant. Storm night. Lightning hit. Retroreflective paint turned the snake into a glowing skeleton. Delivery driver slam brakes. Next morning, Susan's red hat gnome rested in the serpent's open jaws. Platform welded just for offerings. I left it there. Then Apex Community Management arrived. Harlan Brooks, Regional Director, Black Escalade, matte finish, out-of-state plates. Suit expensive enough to pay my mortgage. You're an anomaly, Mr. Reynolds. Psychological attrition on a volunteer board. Impressive. But amateur hour is over. I was re-roofing. Plan had been a giant QR code linking to a looping GIF of Susan measuring grass. Harlan produced an injunction. Uniform earth tone, composition, and color. I pivoted. Dazzle, camouflage. Jagged charcoal, slate, light gray. From street, chaotic mess. From 400 feet, tested with Tony's chimney inspection drone, perfect optical illusion of a house collapsing into a black sinkhole. 2 weeks later, Zillow emailed. Your estimated value is now $12. Neighborhood comps dropped 15 to 20%. Blog screamed, sinkhole suburb. Harlan returned, tie crooked for once. You crashed our portfolio, $4 million in a week. Calibrate your AI better. What do you want? Seat on the board. Full veto power. He caved. Inside meetings, I became the chaos agent. Blue doors, approved. Boat and driveway for weekend, approved. Pirate ship treehouse, approved, with Tony's safety inspection. Maple Grove started breathing, color, personality, actual conversations on sidewalks. Apex struck back. Oil stain 4 inches in diameter on driveway. Bylaw 6.3. You are no longer in good standing. I was out. Next morning I called Tony. Gold epoxy. Entire driveway. Metallic. Reflective. Slippery when wet. 2 days later. Shimmering gold path from garage to street. Looked like Fort Knox met Versailles. Parked my 12-year-old pickup on it for maximum contrast. Violation notice arrived in under an hour. I walked into the next board meeting uninvited, binder in hand. Bylaw 6.1. Driveways must be concrete, asphalt, or approved hardscape. Metallic epoxy is a sealant. Prevents stains. Improves visibility at night. FAA compliant. You want to know stains? Here's your stain-proof driveway. Harlan rubbed his temples. Why? Because you took my seat on a technicality. Because you think algorithms and fine print can control people forever. But outliers exist. And I'm the biggest one you'll ever meet. I stood. I want the HOA dissolved. Full vote. Covenants nullified. Apex gone. Normal neighborhood again. 75% required, he said. You'll never get it. People like rules. They like predictable property values. Do they? Or are they just afraid of you? Campaign began. Projection mapping on my house every night. Vote yes to dissolve. Legal gray area. Light, not signage. Barbecues on the golden driveway. Tony grilling sausages. Flyers. Save $300 per month. No more clipboard tyrants. Mrs. Ellis flipped first. She wanted to keep her 3-foot cherub fountain. Thompson's wanted purple shutters. The guy on Elm secretly building a wooden skiff in his garage joined. Harlan sent scare letters, plummeting values, shantytown chaos. We countered with reality. The rules hadn't protected anyone from Susan. They'd only empowered her. Vote day, November 1st. Polling station in my garage. Notary present. Harlan watched from the street. Escalade filthy for once. One by one they walked the golden driveway, admired the rusting serpent, glanced at the glowing window, and voted. 8 p.m. tally. 201 yes out of 260. Supermajority. Harlan approached. You won. Apex lost the contract. I'm out of job here. Sorry, not sorry. He got in the car and drove away. Susan opened her door across the street, looked at the gold, the snake, the window, shook her head once, turned off her porch light, and went inside. 6 months later, Maple Grove is gloriously imperfect. Thompson's house is teal. Mrs. Ellis added 2 more fountains. Yard sound like a spa. Someone keeps chickens. I get fresh egg sundaes. The golden driveway is a minor tourist stop. I charge $5 for selfies, funds the beer fridge. The window still glows every night. The snake rusts beautifully like ancient bronze. Tony and I sat on the porch one Saturday, iced tea in hand. No more spite projects? He asked. I looked up at the roof. Now boring gray again. City zoning ordinance caps amateur radio towers at 50 feet, I said. Doesn't say anything about shape. Tony grinned, pulled out his sketchbook. Welder's ready. What do you think of the story? Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially about the bigger themes here. Everyday injustice, petty power tripping, standing up to bullies disguised as rules, and how far is too far when you're fighting back? Do you side with John's creative rebellion? Or do you think Susan and the HOA had a point about keeping things uniform? I'm genuinely curious where you land. Let me know below.